What is up, guys? It's Troy D, and welcome back to the channel, Troy D 24/7 Mall On Point Reviews, all day, every day. Now, today we're going to talk about Vetiver fragrances, the niche edition, 2020 niche edition that we're going to talk about. Some of my suggestions that I've just figured out as I went with this journey. Now, Vetiver for me, well, if you haven't smelled Vetiver, it smells like an earthy, sort of like a rooty, kind of like a grass scent. Majority, I would say, is very earthy, and it's used even back in the day as like a gentleman scent, very formal, very gentleman-like. And I think that Vetiver isn't really like explored much in many houses at this point because it's very simple, very straightforward. I have tried Guerlain Vetiver, and it's just like it's straight. If you try Creed Vetiver, it's just straight Vetiver. And so a lot of the Vetiver scents really don't get to the niche unless we see some really dope modifications. And here we are today. I mean, this is where we're at with the top three right now that are like highly, I would say, modified, altered Vetiver just for the niche. And if you look at these, like, you're probably wondering, like, why don't I have a full bottle? Well, that's because even for me, I'm still figuring out Vetiver's place in my world. I'm trying to figure out if Vetiver is something that I would like to represent me when it comes to my scent. I know that for many people, like, their wives love it, they love it, it's great for work, but I'm still not sure, and so that's why I haven't committed to full bottles of any of these. But if you are a Vetiver lover, I think that, man, these three are just very interesting, and at least one of these should be on your full bottle rotation. And if you have them, let me know in the comments if you do and what you guys think. So how we're going to go about this is I'm going to go by the description or the type of each of these Vetivers. Now, the first one I'm going to talk about is Frederic Malle Vetiver Extraordinaire by Dominique Ropion, who also made Portrait of a Lady and The Night. Great perfumer from Frederic Malle. I figured this out when I was on the boutique. I was at the Frederic Malle boutique, and this was highly suggested by the lady over there. And she said that Frederic Malle himself wears Vetiver Extraordinaire on a daily basis. Now, Vetiver Extraordinaire is probably the lightest out of all of them. This is probably the most spring-summer or summery scent out of all of them because it opens with a lot of citrusy notes. It opens with bergamot. It opens with orange. You can really smell that. And there's that pink pepper. If you love pink pepper on perfumes, pink pepper is coming in, as well as cloves. And it will give you a rise, sort of like, it's almost like a nice sunrise, And the Vetiver here, which is that, again, the earthy, grassy type of Vetiver, is actually quite minimal, okay? So for those that are worried if, the Vetiver is going to be this, earthy scent that might not be all cool with others, the lightest and the one that doesn't really, you don't need to commit that much, that is like overall a mass appealing summer scent, is definitely Frederic Malle Vetiver Extraordinaire. Okay, now next up, I did a full review on this, is the Gothic Vetiver, and this is Francesca Bianchi's The Black Knight. Francesca Bianchi's The Black Knight. So, this one is also an amazing Vetiver, and the reason for that is because it is a mixture of Vetiver and the animalic leather that Francesca is really known for. There's like this animalic leather note that makes it like a goth perfume, but mixed with beeswax, beeswax and honey. the sweetness of beeswax and honey that is not that strong. In sort of not, it's not like zoologist bee or Mamluk, where like the honey is really like out there. This one is kind of like grounded, blended in, and the gothic nature of this vetiver, I think it's just so unique. I mean, maybe out of the three, this one pops out as the most, like in terms of like, if I wore this and I was around people, I think that Francesca Bianchi's Black Knight would get the most attention, primarily because it has that gothic appeal. Vetiver is already, a gentleman's scent, but it doesn't have to be bright like Vetiver Extraordinaire. It can be dark, and it can be worn with dark clothing, formal clothing, or in any type of more formal event. But yeah, I mean, Black Knight is gonna stand out because of the beeswax, because of the goth type of scent, leather. There's orris. It's great. Okay, so it's a dark animalic vetiver. Okay, now finally, one of the most complex vetivers that I've ever tried, and this is I reviewed this briefly on the Bortnikoff 5th collection. This is Vetiver Nocturne, aka Night, Vetiver Nocturne Absolute by Bortnikoff from the 5th collection. Now, when I initially reviewed Bortnikoff's Vetiver Nocturne Absolute, this was like my last, because it was like I was so hyped about the collection. I was like, holy crap, this is like the 5th collection of Bort, yo. And I was like, vetiver. Like I said, I'm not too big on the vetiver. So I was like, that'll be the last, because who the heck wants to smell like a pine forest? I was just like, whatever. And I put Vetiver Nocturne Absolute behind the first two that came out in the collection. Well, you know what? Interestingly, I kept coming back to this thing in my search for kind of like the link between me and vetiver. I'm like, vetiver, okay. Now this one, man, okay. So the vetiver used in this one is called Rucus, which is and a very, very, very expensive vetiver. I think it's like a 25, 30-year-old vetiver that's been distilled. So it's something like $1,000, I believe, for a kilo. It's like Rucus vetiver, which, funny, the quick description of that is like very foresty. And so remember on that first Bort video, I was like, oh dude, this smells exactly like a forest. But when I put a full wear, right, I put a full wear on this Vetiver Nocturne Absolute, man, everything else just came into motion, right? So the vetiver was different. It was foresty. Foresty is very foresty. So what really got me though, that made this different, right, is the florals, champaka and jasmine, just like threw me in a loop. I was like, whoa. And if you try Vetiver Nocturne Absolute, you'll see that it'll flip. It'll go from like a vetiver to that, like the florals, which it's mature in nature, in my opinion, right? So it's mature in nature. So yeah, I know people watch this videos from me are from different age groups. So I would say mature in nature when it comes to the florals. Whoa, I was like, dang, okay. And it switches into that while maintaining the vetiver. And then afterward, there's this mix of, well, he says it's Bengalian or Indian sandalwood, but whatever that is, whatever sandalwood is there, I'm sure it's a special sandalwood. Wow, it just backs it up. Then there's ambergris, then there's oak moss, and you just have this solid, like 100% exotic, like vetiver that's like straight out of the forest, but The florals, man, the florals. I think that's where Bort's headed. I think he's just into the florals at this point. You know, a lot of people that own Borts, they remember Oud Monarch and Oud Maximus and stuff like that. I think he's headed into florals. I think he'll keep making florals in his collection, but for him to actually put the florals like Champaka and Jasmine into Vetiver Nocturne is like, wow. I was like, oh, that is such a twist, but he makes it so good because it's like super wearable. So I would say this is the most complex out of the three. That will give you, I think, for mature audiences, like this is such a evolving, amazing vetiver, very complex. So these are my three top niche vetivers that are not based on the normal parameters of vetivers, is based on how they are different, how they are kind of like an evolution of the normal vetiver scent, just that earthy, grassy type scent, and how these three perfume brands are taking it to a different level. One, like I said, is a very light, sunshiny, summery scent. The other one is a gothic, leathery, animalic, honey vetiver scent. And the third is the florals, Champaka, Jasmine, with vetiver, with woods. Just a great, complex blend. Okay, so that's my three. Hopefully this helps you guys figure out where you want to take your vetiver evolution, if I may say. And this is great because you know what, I don't want to get stuck in like having vetiver as just the idea that it's a gentleman scent, just getting stuck with that idea. I want to go past that, and I want to experience vetiver in like different evolutions. And so if you guys have any suggestions for me for any like vetivers that are different, let me know on the comments. I would love to know. Okay, because I'm really interested. I would love to explore the category of vetiver and add them to my collection. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. Again, I always say this, please subscribe below. It's great motivation for me. And watch our videos because we'll come up for more. And thank you again. God bless, guys.